Welcome back to Abuja then. Remy LeBeau on pole from Awful Catfish and Dav Sanchez. Then it's Revo starting fourth from Lawless Leclerc and a returning face in B Dragon Sonic replacing Marcus Nelson. Then it is UK Ball, Xavier Kavitsa, Daniel Bogdasarov, Ray Shen, the Red Devil, Zach Wallace and teammates Oscar Falstad. Then it's Sebastian Ocampo, Pierre Gasly, Antonelli, Gabo down in 16th. Then it's Babinus Jr., Ica World, Pablo Sierra, Cosmas Medicis, teammate Scotland Rotak, and Versio. Well then, penalties returning for this race. Remy LeBeau starting this race on the hards. Catfish doing the same strategy. All 5 lights go on. We are underway for the ERL race in Abuja, and that's a very even start from front row men. I think a better second phase of the start coming from Malaysian. Let's see how they do heading down into turn 1. UK Ball trying to get himself further up the order, and look at that, very wide for Catfish, who's up into first position now. Gabo's got himself a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. B Dragon Sonic up into 4th. His teammates up into 2nd already, and he might even try and take the lead. On board with the number 7 of Revo. Coming through the 2nd sector, into the hairpin he comes. Does he try and look for a move past Catfish? No, he doesn't. His teammate doing his best to get himself up into 3rd. UK Ball's got a 5-second time penalty further back, but here comes Revo, the man challenging for the championship against Catfish. These two have fought it out on track several times before in their careers, and it's a yellow flag in the 3rd sector. That is Falstad and Ray Shen, both off. And in fact, Bogdasarov behind him, it's the Red Devil and Ray Shen, both with front wing damage. And they've come into the pits at the end of this lap. But on lap 2 of 18, Catfish doing all he can to hold on to the race lead rather, as Pierre Gasly gets a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with one of the McLarens. But he's got the 2 DS cheaters raging, rampaging right behind them. It's all going to come down to tyre strategy if not on track. Because look at this from Revo looking to try and go around the outside. His teammate's right there and he's got a 5-second time penalty. A rude awakening to return to the ERL for B Dragon Sonic, getting a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with his own teammate. He's only here for this one race. Marcus Nelson should be back in that car for the next round. But for B Dragon Sonic, his main goal right now is to get a good result at his home race. Fastest lap goes to so many drivers. Here comes the Nigerian himself down the inside at turn number 1. Contact with Catfish, who goes off the track, but through goes both the cheated cars. It's B Dragon Sonic on his return, going from 6th to 1st in the first 3 laps. Revo up into 2nd now, still actually in 2nd. Ica World's been given a 5-second time penalty. I think right now Revo's main goal is to defend from Catfish. Maybe they'll let B Dragon Sonic open up a 5-second gap to his own teammate to try and run off basically that 5-second time penalty, because as it would stand, he would drop to 9th. And of course, he's serving that penalty in the pits now. Luckily, track limits a lot less strict, so that's going to be a lot less of an issue. As you can see, drivers being able to take a lot more of the curb. Fast lap goes to B Dragon Sonic, is into the wall, has gone someone further back in the 3rd sector. Track has been cleared, however, the race leader with a 5-second time penalty. As you can see, the field stringing out into 1, and it's Sebastian Ocampo with a bent front wing. He's coming to the pits at the end of lap number 3, as we're now on lap 4 of 18. 14 laps to go. B Dragon Sonic leads in the 13 car, of which he took his first World Drivers' Championship in before Marcus Nelson took that number from him, and he decided to use car number 14. He wasn't really robbed of that number. He decided to give up the 13. But we are still watching the Nigerian man in what effectively marks his swan song race from this championship. He didn't even expect to be back in that car, but they had no other option. Kui was preparing for his time in IndyCar instead of this racer in Nigeria, so he couldn't make it. But we've got 13 laps to go, and car number 13 leads. Ocampo said the fastest 2nd sector of anybody. Those soft tyres still look pretty good for the next 2 laps. We might expect to see the race leader coming to the pits at the end of lap number 7. Meanwhile, Catfish behind him with some still pretty good looking hard tyres. 10% less tyre wear than what we're seeing from the race leaders as they come through the final sector on board with Revo, and this is certainly one of the shortest tracks on the calendar. Don't be surprised if you see lap times drop into the 48-second bracket, because this is really, really short. This is short track racing in Africa done right. Attack mode wide open for Revo, and he's just using that to stay away from Catfish. As it would stand, B-Dragon Sonic would come out of the pits around about 7 positions lower than he should be, so he is going to have to work his way up the order. We're a third of the way through this race here in Abuja, and the only Nigerian driver is currently leading. Ocampo sets a 49.416. We have 2 African drivers on the grid, the other one being Ika World from Angola, but he's not exactly, from Nigeria, so 11 laps to go. The home favourite still leads here. Remy LeBeau, the pole sitter, dropped from pole to 4th position at a rate of knots, and Ika World now coming into the pits to serve his first pit stop, and also that 5-second time penalty. Also into the pits is Scotland Rotak for Nissan Nismo. Nissan Nismo, not really a team to mention, but they haven't really set the world on fire. If anything, they have done the exact opposite, the antithesis of setting the world on fire. They have put it on ice, and they are still inside of that earth because they are scoring no points so far. They have not done well with this new Gen 2 car. The pack's still very close to each other. It's basically single file for the top 9. But the race leader still staying out. Xavier Kibitza, the first of the top 10 to come into the pits. He's going on to the medium tyres. Zach Wallace and Pierre Gasly also into the pits with Xavier on board with Catfish. As you can see, Revo actually getting a lot of distance between his teammate and the Malaysian Championship leader. He does need every point he can get, and look at those hard tyres. They're beginning to show signs of blistering as well. Not as poorly as those softs. How has B-Dragon Sonic managed to drag out those soft tyres to this point in time? This is unbelievable what we're seeing from him to keep his car pointing in a straight line for this entire time. His teammate goes by. In comes the race leader, B-Dragon Sonic, and he's going to go onto the medium tyres. He's going to be held there for 5 seconds before his team can do anything to the car. In the meantime, many other drivers coming into the pits. Out comes B-Dragon Sonic now, and he's now got to basically fix that gap. He's got to patch that up right now. Otherwise, he's going to lose out unbelievably so. Versus Theo with a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision with Inet Babness Jr., who almost gets forced into the barriers there. Big fan of the new updates Monoposto has had, that being new track limits, regulations, not just that, but look at that. You don't get to see Gabamo on the sidewall, you actually get to see the sponsors that we have in the ERL Formula E Series. At half race distance, as Zach Wallace now coming out of the pits, Revo leads, but he dives in. Catfish is now your race leader with Remy LeBeau in 2nd position. B-Dragon Sonic is 16 seconds off the race lead. Bogdasarov coming into the pits as well. That's Tenali Gabo and Vers Theo all into the pits. So that's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. And in fact, B-Dragon Sonic, he's going to be nowhere near the front of the pack. Here he comes going through turn number 1 right now. He's in 9th position. I predicted that perfectly. He's in 9th. I said that he would come out of the pits round about 9th after the stops have been completed due to that time penalty. I was right. That 5-second time penalty has dropped him from the race lead to 9th. So there is a possibility that a lot worse is in store for the home favourite. Driving car number 13 for the first time since London season number 1. He's been driving car 44 ever since. As in comes Catfish for soft tyres. Sanchez takes 2nd now because Babinus Jr. comes into the pits. Remy LeBeau would have been leading, but he's into the pits as well. Dav Sanchez leads the Abuja E-Prix from Revo, and Xavier Kibitza, highest running position for a Mercedes driver since returning to the ERL. Fastest lap for U-Cable in 11th. Still not in that 48-second bracket, B-Dragon Sonic's managed to claw his way up into 5th. Can he get himself onto the podium on his return to the ERL Formula E Series? Fastest first sector going to Pierre Gasly for Power Motorsports of 14.566. I think that Renault powertrain has finally found some power in those red cars as we go on board with the Frenchman. But out in front, Revo still 2.5 seconds off the race lead. Sanchez might have played the strategy quite well here. He certainly has, but the question is, will he have to do a 2-stop, or can he make it to the end? Can any of these drivers make it to the end? It's a 49.133, 49.083 for Bogdasarov. The next fastest lap that we see will probably be a 48.9, as in comes Ocampo for his second stop with a third of the race left to go on lap 12 of 18. And for Remy LeBeau, he's down in 9th now. That is not good. He started this race on pole, dropped to 4th before the pit stops, and after the pit stops, he dropped 5 further places. He said before this race how he was wondering how he was going to bottle it, and it seems like it was through no fault of his own. This track here in Nigeria, it's not even one of the quickest tracks, but it's just one of the shortest and smallest. And unlike Monaco, you can overtake here. Lap 13 of 18, 5 laps to go. Here comes Lawless Leclerc on Xavier Kubica into turn 1. Late braking down the inside. Track limits warning for Gabo further back. Probably one for Kubica. Attack mode is going to be active for B-Dragon Sonic, who gets himself up into 4th position. Going round the outside there on the Mercedes van. And when that happens to you, that is just the biggest sign of your car not being as powerful as the car that you're fighting with. First Theo getting his second track limits warning as Bogdasarov looking for a way to go past Xavier Kubica, who's just been going backwards today. He's down to 7th now with Catfish going by. He's really looking for a way to get past, almost 4th off the track. Remy LeBeau getting a track limits warning as well. That's his second of the day. He gets 2 more, and that's it over. That's a 5-second time penalty for Xavier Kubica. Contact with Catfish with 4 laps to go. This race in Nigeria really beginning to heat up. Look at that from the number 2 man. Enter this race, leading the championship. If he's down by 10 or more points to Revo, who is currently up in 2nd and scoring 18 points to Catfish's 10 points, currently Catfish would still be leading the championship, but by only 2 points. This gets really close and hectic here in Nigeria, as it usually does, with 4 more laps left to run. This is the absolute pinnacle of electric motorsport, and you can see blistering for Dav Sanchez with 4 to go. Is he going to try and make it to the end? His tyres are not holding up. Revo's going to have attack mode. He does have attack mode with 3 more laps to go. B-Dragon Sonic has attack mode as well with 3 laps to go. On the back of Lawless Leclerc, Catfish looking to his inside, goes down the inside on the 10-time champion and gets 4th position away from the Nigerian. But here comes B-Dragon Sonic back at it again, swoops to the outside and just can't make any sort of progress. But the Malaysian right in front of him, hassling the British Monegasque driver in Lawless Leclerc right ahead. If you can cast your minds back to Long Beach in season 20, Leclerc won that race through a 5-second time penalty that went to the Malaysian in what was only his 5th race back in a championship round of the ERL. Sanchez and Revo still dinging it out on lap 16 of 18 for the race lead in Nigeria. 0.3 of a second is the gap. Xavier comes in for his second stop and will have to serve the 5-second time penalty. 0.3 of a second. That's all it is. Attack mode wide open, and Remy LeBeau's been given a 3rd track limits warning. Track's been cleared. There were yellow flags, and it's for Falstad. Oscar Falstad has lost all grip on those soft tyres. He's got nothing left. He was sliding into the walls left, right, and centre, and has lost as he's bent part of his front wing. He's going to have to come into the pits at the end of this lap, surely for that, lest he crash out of this race. The top 5 finish for the man returning to the ERL for this race only would be certainly more than what was expected, but at the same time, possibly even a little bit underwhelming. But we've had no retirements today as we go into lap number 17 of 18. The penultimate lap as Catfish takes third away from Leclerc, going down the main straight. Where is Revo in all of this? He's right behind Daf Sanchez in front. He's got attack mode, but he's not close enough to make any sort of move. B-Dragon Sonic on the back of Leclerc. He's not close enough to make any move there. Into the wall goes Cosmos Prodesis. Track's been cleared, but he's got front wing damage. He's going to have to pit at the end of this lap as well. That is less than ideal. If anything, I would even go as far to say that is suboptimal to all of my fellow Alpha Max Nova 1 viewers. But here comes Revo looking to the outside. This is going to go down to the final lap, isn't it? On to the final lap. Here comes Revo. Goes down the inside into turn 1. And he takes the lead in Abuja. Ahead of Daf Sanchez. Here comes the Philippine man. However, to try and rain on the Italians' parade. Sierra gets a 5-second time penalty for causing collision further back. But Revo currently leads the Abuja E-Prix. Fastest lap goes to B-Dragon Sonic of 14.549 as his teammate, who has taken the reins from the Nigerian ever since he left after season 13. He's doing what he does best. Win at the final moments, at the dying moments of a race. Sanchez did all he could. That defense was brilliant, but it might have come to naught. Rounding the final turn, Revo comes home to take victory in Abuja, and it'll be the championship lead with Catfish coming across the line in third, Leclerc fourth, and B-Dragon Sonic coming home in fifth. That's Volstad hitting the wall again. His third track limits warning as well. But I don't think that the stewards are going to have too much of a field day with that one because of his current circumstances with that bent out of shape front wing. Virtual safety car, and it's the only retirement of the day. It is Zach Wallace out of this race with Ocampo having front wing damage as well. And that, at this first race in Nigeria with the current configuration in Abuja, absolutely cinema. That was amazing. We're coming here every season if the races are going to produce finishes like this. Revo takes home victory in the Abuja E-Prix from Daf Sanchez and Catfish, who came across the line in third. Then it's Lawless Leclerc, B-Dragon Sonic getting 10 points for his team, DS Tachida, in his only race back. Then it is Daniel Bogdasarov, Remy LeBeau, Babinus Jr. in 8th from UK Ball and Volstad. Your non-scorers were Verse Theo, Pablo Sierra, the Red Devil, Ray Shen, Cosmas Medisa, Xavier Kubica, Pierre Gasly, Scotland Rotak, Ica World, Tonelli Gabba, and Sebastian Ocampo, with the non-finisher being Zach Wallace. In the driver's standings, Catfish still leads, but they are tied on points. If we go to count back, Revo leads the championship after winning in not just Munich, but here today in Abuja. Then it's Daf Sanchez, Marcus Nelson. Of course, it shows B-Dragon Sonic on the table, but I can't exactly fix that. Then it's Sebastian Ocampo, the Red Devil, Remy LeBeau, Tonali Gabo, Babinus Jr., Lawless Leclerc, Ray Shen, Ica World, Daniel Bogdasarov, Pablo Sierra, Zach Wallace, Oscar Volstad, UK Ball, Scotland Rotak, Xavier Kubica, and Pierre Gasly, with the non-scorers being the Greek Cosmas Modestus and the Brazilian Verse Theo. In the constructors standings, heading into round number 5 in this magnificent ERL Formula E series, DS Tachida lead the way from Sims Porsche and DS Andrade. Then it's Kiro Porsche, DS Venturi Formula E team, Trackhouse Renault, DS Team Edam's Renault, McLaren Mercedes, Power Renault, Nissan Nismo, and Mercedes EQ. We'll see you guys next time then when the ERL Formula E series returns.